No less than probably at least like 20 times a week, I get the question of which hero do you unlock first? Now, this has been ongoing for years and years and years, and my answer generally has not changed over the years. And my general answer is you should ignore what I would do, and you should ignore what everyone else would do, and look through the hero and make a decision for yourself. Pick a hero that looks like it's the most fun to play with you, for you personally, that's going to add the most to your kit on how you like to build maps, and make your decision based on that. Now, with that in mind, I can tell you who I personally would pick and why I would pick them, and then also who I wouldn't pick and why I wouldn't pick those. So let's take a look at the heroes and kind of run through them. Now, first off, without a doubt, the hero that I personally would pick is the Series EV. The EV would be the first hero I unlock on any new account. The EV2 has a very playable DPS playstyle with several different flavors based on ability power or hero damage. Not going to be the highest damaging hero out there, however, is going to be more than effective if they are set up properly. Now, my choice for the EV would be based off of her defenses. The EV has 3 of her 4 defenses are the most used defenses in the entirety of the game. First off, we start off with proton beams. Proton beams are the easiest way to implement an elemental combo into any of your builds. So by building 2 different proton beams with different elements, like one with poison, or like in this case, we've got one with storm on it, and then another one, say, that had water on it in front, and you're going to achieve the electrocute combo. By building one with poison in the front and earth in the back, you're going to achieve the petrify combo, etc. In addition to that, since I would be using proton beams to crowd control enemies, proton beams also have an incredible crowd control shard, Frosty Beams. You can add this in on every proton beam, no matter what element you're using, and it's going to give you a chance to freeze enemies, which is even more crowd control on top of what you are doing with your elemental combo. Now, in addition to the proton beams, we've got the reflect beam. The reflect beam is just incredible. It's exactly what you would think it is. It's a reflect beam. Now, it's not used, or most don't use it in the fashion that it used to be used. It was heavily nerfed. However, as far as reflecting projectiles, it is going to do its job. So anytime that you're taking any ranged attacks to yourself, your defenses, or your core, a reflect beam is easily going to solve that problem for you, and just makes, a defense that most players are going to use on every single map they play. Next up, we have the buff beam. It is a tower defense game after all, and boosting and buffing your defenses are one of the most key ways to power. So if you wanted to build, say, let's just say a firework cannon, one of the easiest ways to make this more powerful is going to be to boost it and to buff it. So we're going to give it a boost aura for the boost, and we're going to give it a buff beam for the buff. These are both going to stack individually onto that firework cannon and are going to provide it with a nice bit of power. So the buff beam is a definite nice addition, once again, to absolutely any build. Most of the maps I play, I would say probably 9 out of 10 maps I play, I'm going to have a buff beam and a boost aura on the map somewhere, dual buffing something without a doubt. Next up, we've got a couple of different choices on who I personally would choose, and it would come down to 2 mainly. And that is either the Mercenary or the Countess. The Countess has one of, if not the most powerful single defense in the entire game. That is the Elder Dragon. The Elder Dragon is going to really power you through lots of individual places. You can go to the Gates of Dragonfall map on any tier and get your first win relatively easily by throwing an Elder Dragon behind the core to cover all 3 lanes, and it is an absolute powerhouse. Now, in addition to that, I personally do enjoy the tower defense aspect of the game, and the Countess is going to have a boost for defenses and for heroes. Call to Arms. Rally yourself and nearby allies, increasing movement speed and damage dealt. Nearby towers also deal increased damage. Now, the Countess is the worst of the 3 tower boosters in the game, however, is also the most casual to play. So Call to Arms is ability that you pop once, it will run constantly until you run out of mana, which means it's ideal for AFK type gameplay, for an alt, to have your alt boosting, or just anytime you kind of want to chill and don't want to have to hit the button over and over again. Call to Arms will be a go-to for you there as far as tower boosting goes. The Countess has very enjoyable DPS playstyles as well, and that is why the Countess would be one of my top choices. Besides the Countess, the one that would be, the EV would be my first call. Either the Countess or the Mercenary would be the second hero I personally would unlock, and lots of good reason for the Mercenary as well. First off, the Mercenary is one of, if not the strongest DPS hero in the game. Absolutely incredible damage output in a hero damage type setup, but also has some very, very usable defenses. The Nether Spider Spawner is a favorite of many. Lots of people are using these to clear all sorts of content throughout the game. The Nether Archers are my personal favorite from the Mercenary. It's an archer that the arrows bounce around from enemy to enemy. I mean, it'll go around corners, for God's sakes. Good stuff there. And then we've got the Elvish Artillery Cannon, which used to be a lot more heavily used. It's not quite used as much now, since folks have discovered the power of the Nether Spider and the Nether Archer. However, still a very, very valid defense. So as top 3 heroes, that would be the ones that I personally would pick. EV first, and then either the Mercenary or the Countess as my second choice. Now, there are lots of honorable mentions in there, lots of heroes that I personally really enjoy. The Engineer is an absolute blast to play. Additionally, has some crazy powerful defenses. Very fun playstyle in either a hero damage or an ability power setup, as is the Hunter. The Hunter is my personal favorite as far as DPS heroes. I like to play a hero damage hunter, as I do just like to pew down lanes. The Hunter also has some absolutely incredible defenses. The Spectral Knight is one of the few defenses in the game that will shoot through walls and hits multiple enemies. So Spectral Knights for the win. The Gargoyle statues are heavily used by many for like ancient power resets or in Onslaught, as they are powerful and very versatile. And then the Werewolf Commander is arguably one of the best walls in the game. So the Hunter would be a top pick for me. I wouldn't pick the Hunter first, even though it is my favorite DPS hero, but it would definitely be high up on the marks there. Additionally, we've got the Dryad, probably the best marketing decision that was ever made in the history of Dungeon Defenders 2 was the Terraria crossover, and the Dryad came with that crossover event. Now, the Dryad is got some incredibly powerful and useful defenses throughout. The Angry Nimbus is generally used very, very heavily, once again, for Ancient Power resets. It pretty much automates the Ancient Power reset system. Additionally, you've got some really fun type abilities. The World Tree is absolutely incredible for boosting heroes. Also has some fun shards, and is not a super effective wall as far as its actual health or blocking effectiveness, but it just has so much utility that comes along with it that it makes up the difference very, very rapidly. Now, as far as heroes that I personally wouldn't pick first, it's kind of a tough call, but I would not choose the Abyss Lord first. The Abyss Lord is kind of a jack of all trades. It does a lot of things decently. However, it doesn't do any one thing incredibly well. The Abyss Lord's strongest thing, in my personal opinion, is probably the Orc Blockades. Skeletal Archers do pack a ton of power. The Colossus is an absolute beast, but you can only use one of them. And then the Ramster is great area of effect damage, however, gets outclassed by other things. I personally would not choose the Aquarian. The Aquarian's best time in the game so far was from abusing an exploit. Now that that exploit is fixed, the Aquarian is not quite what she was on launch day. Does have some very useful defenses. The Jellyfish Tower hits like an absolute truck. And the Artillery Crab Tower is kind of fun and can oil enemies. However, I personally would not choose the Aquarian as my first hero. I probably wouldn't choose the Frostweaver as my first hero either. The Frostweaver is going to be very, very usable. However, just doesn't have anything that really, really stands out for me personally. Now, another important thing to note is remember that every hero is going to be absolute dog shit until you get some gear and some shards for it. So you're not going to be able to just buy a hero and have it be incredibly powerful right out of the gates. Just as you have to with every single hero, you're going to have to make some investments into it to get the most out of that particular hero. So when you're going through and choosing which hero to get first, once again, don't listen to me and don't listen to anyone else because it is your experience. One thing about Dungeon Defenders 2 is people that really embrace the game and get into it end up playing the game for years. With that in mind, you're just going to have everything unlocked. It's just a matter of time. And choosing who you unlock first should be based off of your own personal enjoyment. So hopefully that helps answer some of the questions. Like I said, I can't tell you what to get first, but I can tell you what I personally would get first, and that is what I would do with this one. So let me know what you think down in the comments below, and thank you all so much for watching. So hopefully everyone's having a wonderful week, and I will see you next time around. Take it easy.